Australia's national airline, Qantas, is an airline that's had its reputation shattered in recent years. Having not flown long haul on Qantas since 2019, I was very interested to take this flight today to see just how good or bad Qantas is. So join me and let's take a look at just that as we fly on board Qantas A330-300 on an overnight flight from Hong Kong to Melbourne. To get to the airport, I opted to take the train, so I'm here at the Hong Kong MTR station. I found the train to be a great way to get to the airport. It wasn't super busy and there's places to store your luggage. It's not cheap though, but I still would recommend the Airport Express train. Hong Kong International Airport is quite an impressive one. It's built on an artificial island, known as Chek Lap Kok. This airport was opened in 1998 to replace the famous Kai Tak Airport. Once I had located the Qantas check-in area, I went to see if there were any desks open, which I didn't think there would be because I was at the airport 4.5 hours prior to departure. At first, I thought I was right, but then I saw that there was actually 3 early check-in desks open, including 2 for priority, so I was very happy about that. The check-in today was at Section J. I did notice that some people were checking in heaps of luggage. The check-in agents were super friendly and helpful. Check-in/bag drop didn't take too long once we got there. As for security, it was great. There was automated boarding pass and ID scanners, so it was the baggage scan that took up most of the time. It took me roughly 10 minutes to get through. Airside, there looked to be plenty of duty-free, shopping, including lots of high-end shops, and places to get something to eat or drink. But I just wanted to head straight to the lounge, because I was aware that the lounges at this airport are incredible. Last year I had a very short connection in Hong Kong, and so I got some videos of the Cathay Pacific Pier Business Lounge, but I didn't really get to experience it, so I was looking forward to doing that today. Thanks to my Oneworld Sapphire status, and Oneworld's reciprocal lounge access policy, which basically means if you have eligible status with Oneworld and are travelling on a Oneworld airline flight, you can use any Oneworld lounge. So today, I checked out the Cathay Pacific Pier Business Lounge and the Qantas Lounge. The Cathay Pacific Pier Business Lounge is incredible, the best I've been to. The fresh dim sum bar food was delicious. I mean, not Michelin star, but you know. The buffet selection wasn't huge, but still very decent, and it looked good quality, with some really cool stuff such as pizza, which I saw being made. But I was happy with having a dim sum bar rather than a huge buffet selection. There's also a tea house room, which was really cool. There's these separate kind of areas. There's the buffet, a bar, the dim sum bar, and the tea house. I found it to be pretty quiet inside. The lounge had some kind of a relaxed, fancy business vibe, which was nice. I didn't get a drink, but the selection seemed to be great. Also, there's good views of this one specific gate, and sometimes you'll see a plane taxi past. Overall, as I said, it's an incredible lounge. I love the design of it too. By the way, Hong Kong International Airport does have 2 terminals, however only one is currently operational, with Terminal 2 currently going under extensive renovations. I believe it's expected to open around the end of this year. To get to the Qantas lounge, which is in a different part of the terminal, I could have taken the train, but instead opted to walk and get some exercise, and of course do some plane spotting along the way. The Qantas Hong Kong lounge is located right after what I think was the North Immigration Point. It's actually the immigration point I went through earlier. I believe this lounge was renovated not too long ago, and so it looks pretty modern. While we take a look at the lounge, please allow me to tell you just a little bit about Qantas. I'll tell you a bit about its history, but save the last 20 years or so for another video. Founded in 1920, Qantas is the third oldest airline by foundation date. The name Qantas is an acronym for the airline's original name, which was Queensland and Northern Territory Aerial Services. In 1934, Qantas and British Imperial Airways formed a new company, Qantas Empire Airways, which was to fly international routes, including all the way to London with several stopovers. With the arrival of its first Boeing 707, Qantas entered the jet age in 1959. Fast forward to 1992, Qantas merged with Australian Airlines, the then government-owned domestic airline of Australia. Following this, Qantas was gradually privatised. In 1998, Qantas co-founded the One World Alliance, along with American Airlines, Canadian Airlines, British Airways and Cathay Pacific, following the entry of then new budget airline Virgin Blue. In year 2000, Qantas created its own budget airline, Jetstar. And that's where I'll leave it for today's video. Back to the Qantas lounge. Something really cool about this lounge is that it offers a roaming yum cha trolley, which I think is so cool. There's not much of a selection though. The yum cha trolley, when I got something from it, had mushroom buns or siu mai, with myself having tried the latter. The buffet selection was pretty standard, but some of the stuff looked really good. There's a restaurant area of this lounge, which has a small a la carte menu. I wasn't expecting this, and in a lot of ways it did feel like a restaurant, with an incredible view. I got the barbecue pork, which I believe is the signature dish. It was very tasty, maybe not quite as good as what I had in the Cathay lounge, but still very tasty, and I would get it again. It had a great flavour. By the way, the siu mai I had were pretty good, but not incredible. There was a pretty fantastic drink selection too. I had a mocktail, which was excellent. The lounge didn't have a bad vibe, but the vibes weren't as good as in the Cathay lounge, for me at least. It was also on the emptier side, considering the 2 Qantas flights leaving soon. Overall, the Qantas Hong Kong lounge is also great, and one of the best I've been to, but not as good as Cathay's Pier Lounge in my opinion. My ride to Melbourne will be Victor Hotel, Quebec Papa Juliet. It's a 2005 built Airbus A330-300 delivered new to Qantas. This aircraft is equipped with 2 GE engines and has Qantas' newest livery, called Silveroo. In fact, this aircraft was the very first to feature this new livery. When I first got to the gate and went into the business lounge thanks to my One World Sapphire status, they did check status. Passengers who asked were told boarding would start within 10 minutes from 7:21 PM, so a little late. The board still said boarding though. They came around at 7:29 and said to passengers that we would soon board, but the plane was a bit hot, so they were trying to cool it down. I think I was then told 10 to 15 minutes, as apparently the air conditioning wasn't working too well. They kept us very well informed, which I appreciated. This was the economy line for boarding at roughly 7:43. I was glad to have priority. We were updated shortly after, again saying 15 minutes. Then everyone sat down. Then at 8:09 I was told at least 10 minutes. I then ventured off to the satellite building to do some plane spotting. Then at 8:37 or 8:38 or so, they told me it needs to cool down 1 more degree. It's cooling down, but slowly. About 10 minutes later, there was a bit of a misunderstanding that we had a gate change. So some passengers, myself included, went to a new gate when it was actually a different flight that was supposed to use our gate, which got changed. to the gate staff and they were amazing. They told me they would call the lounge to make an announcement if I wanted to go back. So I went back to the lounge for a little, which was nice. A few people clapped when boarding finally started at around 9:34. I thought the face scanning boarding gates were very cool. I was told they were waiting for it to get down to 30 degrees, and once I got on board, I believed them. Welcome on board a hot Qantas A330-300, featuring 28 Thomson AeroVantage XL seats in business class in a 1-2-1 configuration, followed by 269 Recaro manufactured seats in a 2-4-2 configuration in economy class, where I'll be seated today. My seat for the flight home will be 56A. Waiting for me on the seat was a pair of headphones, a blanket and a pillow. Now, please allow me to go through the seat features. First up, legroom is very average for a long-haul flight on a full-service airline, at I believe 31 inches. That's what it felt like to me, but no more. The width felt pretty decent. There's a seat back pocket which has 2 compartments, one containing literature such as the safety card, magazine and sick bag. I moved the headphones there from my seat. And then there's another compartment where you could store your personal items. There's a bifoldable tray table, which wasn't too clean, but also not super dirty. There's this little storage compartment here, suitable for a phone or charging cables or something like that. It's a handy thing which I do appreciate. And then there's an adjustable in-flight entertainment screen, which is a good size, but it's not big. Beneath it, you'll find an audio port and a USB-A port. There's a netted footrest, which is cool. Below my seat, I found just one universal power socket, which isn't too surprising. Also, I believe this is an entertainment hardware box, which takes a little bit of space away from the passenger sitting on the window seat. There's also another audio port / headphone jack on the front of the armrest. There did appear to be overhead individual adjustable air vents. There's a nice headrest which seemed like leather. Also, seat back padding was solid, but it doesn't have the double padding like on a lot of Qantas's other planes.
Firstly, we do apologise for the delayed departure. Everything was looking good when we arrived. The aircraft had come in on time from Melbourne. However, as you have probably been told, we had some major issues with the air conditioning unit. In the end, it became a decision of either delaying this flight possibly until about 3 AM in the morning, where we could try and get it cooled down, or get ourselves onto the aircraft now, get you all on and close doors and push back, and once we have started the aircraft engines, the temperature will come down and the aircraft will indeed cool down. So we have gone with that decision, so we do apologise for the late departure. However, we will do our very best to get you home to Melbourne, and for those continuing on to further destinations as best we can. In economy, the small pocket below your entertainment screen cannot be used for takeoff. Headset cables must be removed from the seat back port but can be plugged into the armrest. We do look forward to flying you through to Melbourne with us this evening. Please help us create a safe, respectful and positive environment for everyone on board by respecting each other and our crew.
And good evening and welcome aboard this flight through to Melbourne, and thanks for your patience.
Hi and welcome to my magic place, Litchfield National Park, just outside of Darwin. We all have a place that fills our heart and makes us feel safe. Welcome to Qantas.
I'm flying on an Airbus H125 helicopter. And you're in a Qantas Airbus A330.
Fasten your seatbelt by inserting the clasp into the buckle and tighten by pulling the strap.
It was interesting to listen to the PA to hear about their decision making in regards to delaying the flight. I do like hearing Qantas's boarding music. It reminds me of going home. It's now time for pushback, a little more than 2 hours late.
If you can reach the seat in front, brace. by folding your arms and resting your forehead on your arms.
Please help us create a safe, respectful and positive environment for everyone on board. Before you get underway, make sure all your bags are in the overhead locker or under the seat in front of you.
Thank you for choosing to fly Qantas.
歡迎乘搭澳洲航空。當我哋準備帶普通嘅澳洲人前往世界各地一啲奇特嘅地方嘅同時，
It was cool to see Qantas' new safety video, with one being played in English and another in what I'm guessing was probably Cantonese. But I'm not sure on that, so if you know, I'd be interested to hear in the comments. If you enjoy the content I put out and this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It would seriously help out me and the channel so much and would be very much appreciated, but if you don't want to, that's completely okay. It's now time for takeoff on runway 07 right.
I do acknowledge, ladies and gentlemen, a number of you do have connections once we arrive into Melbourne. Throughout the night, the company will be in touch with us and we will be able to pass that information on as we get closer to Melbourne. Once again, it's our pleasure having you on board.
Before the meal service, let's take a look at the in-flight entertainment screen. It had a great range of movies and TV shows on offer. There's also audiobooks, music, and a kids section. Qantas does try to show you ads before movies, but you can just skip past them. I didn't know that Qantas did this, but assuming it's accurate, I love that they display the menu on the in-flight entertainment screen. Also, the screen is pretty responsive. Probably the biggest letdown of this in-flight entertainment screen, for me at least, was the moving map, which comparatively was still a relatively old system. Not too long after takeoff, the crew came around handing out arrival cards. Then after a little bit, they handed out bottled water, which was nice. But I'm not sure if they do this routinely or just because it was hot.
With mushroom and carrots, that's our plant-based vegetarian option. Or we've got a braised pork with broccoli and jasmine rice.
For the dinner service, they announced the meal options on the PA, and it was on the in-flight entertainment screen, so I don't really mind about not having a menu, and it's not really an expectation of mine, in economy anyway.
In the upright position. Once again, a very warm welcome on board.
I found the headphones provided to be just okay for economy. I can hear and make out what is being said, but I had to concentrate. The crew soon came around with the meals. It seemed like all 3 were still available when they got to me, which 3 options is good to have. The main meal was served alongside a warm bread roll, a napkin, a cutlery packet, and that's it. A full bar kind of service seemed to be available, as I showed on the menu earlier. I went for a lemonade and an orange juice, as a hot drink service was to follow. For my main meal, I went for the braised pork with broccoli and jasmine rice. I think that's what it was called. The pork had a nice flavour, and the rice wasn't too dry. Also, the bread roll was really tasty. After the meal service, mango icy poles were offered, which was nice. They were tasty too. It's now time for a quick lavatory review. I thought that it was very standard, only the standard amenities. It wasn't too spacious, but it also wasn't super cozy. Then a little bit later again, tea, including green tea, and coffee was offered, as well as juice and Tim Tams. The cabin lights were then dimmed so that people could sleep. As far as I noticed, no snack bar was set up, I don't think, despite what it said on the in-flight entertainment screen, but the very friendly crew gave me snacks upon request. By the way, the pillow seemed to be made of real fabric, and the blanket was good too. The recline seemed very decent. The seat moves slightly forward when reclined. I think I managed roughly 3 hours of on and off sleep. About 1 hour and 50 minutes out of Melbourne, an announcement was made about the breakfast service. The options were as was on the IFE. I went for the fruit, which came with a warm muffin, and the napkin and cutlery packet. Tea, coffee, water and juice was also on offer, with myself having gone for a tea and water, I think. The fruit was nice and fresh, and there was a decent variety. The muffin was good. There wasn't many blueberries, but it still had a nice flavour, and I appreciated it being warm.
We're shortly going to be landing into Melbourne. Due to the delayed departure, for those customers with connecting flights from Melbourne, our team on the ground have been working overnight to rebook you to alternative flights.
A rubbish collection service followed the breakfast service, as I think it did with the dinner service.
Has asked us to slow down and hold. They're only using one runway, I should say. That's about a 15-minute delay on our arrival time. I hope you got some rest on the flight, and thank you for choosing Qantas. Good morning.
Okay, charging ports and stow entertainment screens. In economy, the small pocket below your entertainment screen cannot be used for landing.
It sounds like we've got a short ATC delay. As we descend into Melbourne, please allow me to conclude my experience with Qantas. Once I got to the airport, check-in was without major issue and was open early. As I said earlier, Qantas' newly renovated lounge in Hong Kong is really great, but overall not as good as Cathay Pacific's Pier Business Lounge. But I'd certainly love to go back to the Qantas lounge, and would do so just for the cheesecake. Now, as for the delay, I think the ground staff did a good job handling it and explaining it to passengers who asked. It's hard to say if it was Qantas' fault as such, as I don't know the circumstances of the air conditioning problem. It was annoying both on the ground and on board because it was quite hot for me on board. But these things happen, I guess. Perhaps they would happen a little less though if Qantas had newer planes, I'm not sure. The seat was great, aside from the average legroom. The in-flight entertainment was overall great, and I particularly liked the menu. Somewhere Qantas currently falls behind a lot of competition is that I don't think they offer Wi-Fi on their A330-300s, Boeing 787s, and A380s, even at a cost. but I do believe Qantas plans to retrofit these aircraft with Wi-Fi next year. The dinner service was good and tasty, but even including desserts, the portion was average. I expected a snack bar to be set up, an expectation which was reinforced by the menu, but a little over 5 hours before landing, there was still nothing. But again, I was able to get snacks upon request. Then the breakfast service was once again pretty tasty and of decent quality, but lacked in terms of amount of food. I wouldn't mind about this so much if Qantas wasn't too expensive for a full service carrier, but it is. And Cathay Pacific is generally the same price as Qantas, and when connecting to other parts of Asia can often be cheaper. I flew from Melbourne to Hong Kong with them last year, also on an overnight flight, and they offered 2 full-size meals. I suspect if you get an A350, the seat would be better too. I didn't take heaps of approach footage, so I'll continue the conclusion on the ground. Now enjoy the rest of the approach and landing on Melbourne International Airport's runway 34. The crew on today's flight were fantastic, I think. Very friendly, helpful, and they would sometimes engage in conversation with passengers. The Qantas staff were actually one of the most impressive parts of this experience, which I found to be somewhat surprising. Overall, I had a great experience, which I enjoyed. However, most of the greatness came from the experience at Hong Kong Airport. My main problem is the price, as although Qantas offers a solid product based on this experience, I personally don't think it's at the same level as the price. So in a lot of cases, if it's the same price or cheaper, which is often the case, I would pick Cathay, Singapore Airlines or China Southern over Qantas if oneworld status wasn't a factor. But if you get a good redemption rate like I did, Qantas still offers a decent product, though I would be wary of a swap to the A330-200, which can happen. Also, as much as the heat was a bit uncomfortable, I'm glad we weren't delayed until 3 AM or whatever.
Welcome to Melbourne. Qantas would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the airport's lands. Please take care when opening overhead lockers, as baggage may have moved and could fall out. Before leaving, ensure you check your seat and seat pocket for any personal items. If you can reach your phone, you can now turn off flight mode.
Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross-check. Thank you.
As we disembark, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching today's video. I posted updates of this trip on my Instagram at aviation763_, so feel free to check that out if you like. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to all of my incredible Patreons for helping to make these videos possible. Their support is truly so much appreciated, and I couldn't do what I do without them. Once again, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in my next one next Saturday at 5 PM Melbourne time.